So this hits home for me and Nate a little bit.
Let's hear it. Let's see what we got.
Let's see how Nate likes this one.
Okay.
This is on Ex-Christian, a wonderful form. And this is posted by Long Jumping Love 6. So it might be longer.
It's a long name.
It's a longer name, but Long Jumping Love 6.
So like an ex-Baptist is it, I think.
Love it. My mom is offended by my parenting choices is the title of this post.
I already know where this is going.
Yes. You got this, dude. You can take it. I read it. You can take it.
You read this one and you were like, oh, this is great for Nathan.
Oh, I almost cried.
Okay.
No, I'm kidding. I didn't almost cry. I, 28, female, told my parents a few months ago that me and my family are no longer religious. Now, my mom gets easily offended by anything I say in her presence. We had a barbecue the other night, and the next day, out of nowhere, she confronts me and tells me that every single thing I said to her was offending her, but couldn't really back that up with any examples. I had fun at the barbecue, and I'm upset that she took our interactions this way. Every time I see her, she talks about whether or not I'm going to homeschool my kids. 4 years and 1 year. Like she did. And she asks them if she can take, and she asks them, I think she meant me. And she's
talking about the kids.
Okay. And she asks them if she can take them to church on Sundays so my husband and I can have a break.
The reason why I know that's what they're saying is because this has happened to me.
That's why I chose it. Sunday mornings are apparently the only time she is available to help with the kids, which feels manipulative to me. I've come to the conclusion that it is not what I'm saying to her that offends her. It's that I'm making different life parenting choices than her and thriving. And she sees that as a potential insult to how she sees that as a personal insult to how she raised me. I also feel like Christians feel threatened when non-Christians are happy and content with their life.
Yeah, that last statement's so true.
And then she posted this at the end. I don't know what to do because I love my parents and want them to be involved with the kids and in my life, but I don't want to walk on eggshells every time I'm in their presence.
Yeah, it's like looking in a mirror.
It's like looking in a mirror, baby.
I mean, I feel like I should just comment on this one right away because my son's 13 now. And so a lot has changed from when he was like 1 and 4 years old, right? Like primal, innocent years is just like everything before 13. And my son is not innocent anymore. This is a small little man, or however he'll identify as he gets older. But like, so things change a lot when, 8th grade, 9th grade, you started having your own self-awareness and you choose what you want. You're just not like obligated. But yeah, when my son was, 3-4 years old, I was going to church a lot.
I know.
Because you would go with me.
No, I mean, not as much as you.
I know. I would go by myself. Yeah.
Different place, different time. There's a lot to that background that isn't being said.
Yeah, for sure.
So it wasn't like you were going to church to see Jesus. You were trying to keep your son around his grandparents.
That's it. That's exactly this person. Yeah. So, and having pastors as parents, we don't have parents that are just like, you should bring your kids to church with me. It's more of like, they need to be taught by us. Like they need to be coming to, like, it's a different type, a little bit different. But yeah, I dealt with so much fucking guilt for years and just suppressed that shit thinking, oh no, if I raise my own son to not go to church, then he'll miss out on his grandparents, like how I missed out on my parents. Yeah. Because I stopped going to church. Yeah. And I don't have a relationship with my parents the way that I would dream of. Yeah. And it's like, man. And so, yeah, there was like many years where it was tough. And then I grew and healed and started to learn like how corrupt and manipulative that idea was. Yeah. And it's like multiple layers too, when you've already been ostracized from your parents' house and your family. And then you have a child where they're like, finally, another opportunity. Hopefully your father you don't happen the same thing that happens to your father. Yeah.
Let us try this time again.
We'll try again.
We'll try again with you.
And it works. Well, he's 13. I decided to not keep my son away from our parents. Yeah. I mean, and I would tell this person too, I'd say, why don't you let the child choose for themselves what they believe? Because it didn't seem like you had that option. And if you limit your kid to having a relationship with their grandparents, you don't think they're going to have some deep-seated issue with you in the future when they're 14, 15?
And they don't have a relationship.
Being like, why didn't you let me have a relationship with and then they become Christians because they just realize that everybody that's not a Christian holds back what they,
Yeah.
And I got a lot of advice in my life during this time from you. And, like we went through this together, like trying to figure it out. My wife too, like figuring it out, other friends, therapists and stuff. And I guess I could ask you, like, what does a child really need? Like you have, maybe their parents aren't Christians, but their grandparents are like hyper radical Christians. What does a child need to be healthy?
Love.
Done.
Yeah.
Go back to that first not Christian track I read.
Yeah.
Unconditional love.
Yeah.
So what I learned was I'm gonna go to church with my kid so he can have a relationship with his grandparents.
Yeah.
So even when I look back on it, I don't think I ever made a dumb decision going to church.
No.
I just had to put myself in some pretty triggering, anxious positions and just suppressed it for years.
Yeah.
And that's not healthy. Because I wasn't I didn't even know religious trauma was hurting me at that time.
No.
I was just putting myself back into the fire for the sake of my kid. And then I learned like, whatever, like I don't have to be going to church. And if my son really wants to go to church, then he can go to church.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and he does.
Yeah.
Because everyone else in his family besides a few bit of
you.
us.
Yeah.
Besides
us.
And Auntie Natalie and the other, the kids, they're
the
all
majority of his
radical
examples.
Radical. Both of his grandparents on both sides, not my wife's side, but are pastors. My wife's parents are not pastors.
Yeah.
And different relationship I'm learning.
What's wild, dude, just you bringing that up, it's reminding me of just like the place you were in that time when your son was that age, and how far we were out of the church for while after that.
Like over 12
and
years.
Like my experience leaving the church was already after I stopped going. The church didn't really treat me bad. My parents didn't necessarily treat me bad. I was making up my own thoughts. And then it kind of came to a point where it was like, yeah, I'm not Christian anymore. Whereas like you leaving the church was such a young age where the church exiled you, made you an enemy. And so did your parents at the age of like 15.
Yeah.
And to the point of where you were like, fuck the church, fuck this place at like 17, 18, got kicked out and your life changed, whatever. And then you come back to like 27 and you're
more
really...
like, think about it, you're like 23.
Was that
20,
when Evan?
My son came into my life 23, 22 years old. I found out, started seeing him right about my 23rd birthday.
Are you sure?
Found out about him 2 days after my 23rd birthday.
I was like 22.
The lady from the Child Protective Services and Support Office called me and said, "Happy birthday, Nathan. You're a father." And I was like, doesn't feel like a great birthday present. She was like, not yet. It's a present that will sit for a while and it'll grow over time.
Yeah.
They were right.
But then
so I was 25. I was 25 years old.
This culture who abused you.
Yeah.
But like more than me, I'll just say like you were like cast.
I would say in a different way. I wouldn't have to categorize it.
Yeah. It's not even, I don't want to,
but I hear what you're saying. Yes.
Hierarchy,
you were the
trauma.
number one witness of what happened to me.
It was
in the
more
church.
of like you were stoned in front of everybody and cast out. And here you are, a suffering newly parent to a kid you didn't know you had.
And really horrific.
And you're bringing him back to your abusers. Yeah. To the women who raised you, not just our parents, like the youth leaders and the women that taught you the same poisonous messages and then also stoned you when you denied them. And you're like, here's my youngest.
Yeah.
How do you think we should love him?
Yeah. There was literally a woman that I remember that would actively, when I'd bring my son to church, she would come into me and see him and look at me and be like, "Isn't God so good?" And meanwhile, I was in one of the most horrific court battles of my life.
Yeah.
And I was like, no. What are you talking about?
Yeah. God is confusing.
Nothing is happening well right now. So far, being a son and a parent isn't great.
Yeah.
It's like I'm being, stoned on both ends of it. Yeah. But all like, no, what's the term? Like, I'm not asking for any sympathy. It's more of, I think there's a lot of parents in these situations where their parents are radical believers in Christ and they have these innocent children. And as a parent, and meeting so many grandparents as a nurse and just in my own experience with our parents is I can't even imagine. I can only imagine what it's like to be a grandparent and to see your grandchild. It's a totally different type of love. It's just a different connection. You don't have nearly as much obligation. You're not parenting you're just giving them all the goodness, all the, like, here's the candy, here's the fun, and back to your parents.
Yeah.
And radical Christians are exactly like their grandparents are grandparents. One of the things I learned is my son literally has chosen to go stay a weekend at our parents' house, than to go to, an amusement park.
Yeah.
Because that was and I remember that for our grandparents. It was like, that was Disneyland. That was the amusement park, was being able to see your grandparents. And so the love is just, it's there. There's it's so beautiful. But all of that fun and all of the gifts and like that like super like fun shit that comes from grandparents, when you have radical Christian pastors as parents, they're also trickling in God's love.
And also teaching them that when they die, they might burn in hell.
Yeah, all of the same shit that we were taught. The difference is this, and this is what I've always said, and I'm not perfect, and I don't think long jumping love 6 is perfect.
No.
But my encouragement, my thing that I believe, what I said to myself was, if I can learn now immediately how to actually unconditionally love my child and confess when I fail immediately in the moment, then I might actually figure this out, where I can allow my son he can be whoever. I won't hold him back from these beautiful relationships, but I know he's going to be a little bit tormented, and it's going to be confusing, and he's going to have some weird ass logic forced down his, into his brain. But he has me. He has you. Like, he has like people that are going to give him all the space in the world to be themselves.
Yeah.
With unconditional love.
Yeah.
And I've said this on the podcast before, that it was only about 2 years ago that I was in the car and we were on the way to go camping for my birthday. And my son in the car told me he had to tell me something. He was 11 years old, and he said, "Dad, I need to tell you that I know you're not a Christian, and I know I am." Because of course he identifies as a Christian, right? He goes, I really do believe you're going to burn in hell, which is why we need to spend as much time as we can in this life together. And I teared up right away, and I was like, that is the most painful and sweetest thing the heart of a child could ever share. Yeah. They're just regurgitating, right? Yeah. It's just like, Dad, blah. And I'm like, that hurt. I love you too. Yeah. It's like,
I'm sorry the death cult has gotten to you.
And I remember I called, I think I called you that day, maybe it was, and I called my wife right after, and I was just like, when we got like at a gas station, and I was like, I'm freaking out. I'm so angry. I don't know what to, I'm so sad. And it's simply is like, dude, he's like, they're a child.
Yeah.
What do you expect from them? This is what you said this to the same exact way. And I was like, oh my God, I said this too. The difference was I didn't have me as a father, and I'm not perfect. I never had a father that was like, didn't make me feel bad for what I believed.
Yeah.
And I remember in that time, I just like used that as an opportunity. I was like, Evan, you can believe whatever you want. I still love you no matter what, bro.
Yeah.
I was like, do you really believe I'm going to burn in hell? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, I love you, dude.
Yeah.
You're right. We got to spend as much time as possible if that's what you believe.
Yeah.
Like, what a great hack with your kid.
Yeah.
Like, that's right. Now you have to be my best friend forever.
If a person that can respond that way, it's like, oh, if you believe that, that's okay, man. I agree with you. We should spend the most time together because I love you. And then you die and you do burn in hell for eternity. There's no heaven I want to go to that allows that. That's bullshit, dude. That's not love.
Yeah,
that's not love at all. Once and again, anyone that's like, well, you had the choices. It's like, and you should go fuck yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I have one comment that I just think will be funny to say, and we'll just move right on. From the original Adam West. Whoever Adam West is, this is the original. Please do not leave your kids with said parents.
Yes. And I think that's a lot of ex-Christians, a lot of ex-radical people.
Yeah.
And I get it. I'm with you. I lived that. But unless the original Adam West, I'm not here to judge. I don't know who you are.
Yeah.
But unless you have a child who's in the exact same situation as long jumping love 6 is, I don't think you get it.
Yeah, you don't.
And it's not your fault. That's not anyone's fault. I wouldn't wish this on any parent, but when my son said that to me, I did have racing thoughts. I was like, I did it wrong. I should have kept him away from his grandparents. I should have done this or that. And like under choked tears and like swallowed.
Yeah.
Well, dude, you believe what you want. I love you the same.
Yeah.
Because the truth is it hurts. So to the parents that are going through this, get yourself a fucking therapist.
Yeah.
Start talking about this shit, dude. It's not going to be easy.
No.
You got to get through it though. And you got to
Yeah.
love that kid no matter what. And if you want to limit, if you really believe, like, not every parent's the same. You know, our parents, literally, they're doing their best.
Yeah.
And I love them for doing their best with our podcast. However, they're evolving through this with my son, with the like whatever they're conflicted with in life. I do appreciate that we still have a relationship with them. We're not like cutting each other off. My son has a great relationship with them, but I'm not here to judge. I know there's a lot of shitty grandparents out there. And if it's in your heart and soul, you really do believe it's probably best for the sake of you and your children. And mind you, you maybe have had such an abusive relationship with your parents that you don't have a relationship with them. So that kind of cuts out the ability of your own children to have a relationship with their grandparents. And we've interviewed people that have that going on.
Yeah. And honestly, the people that we've interviewed that they don't have a relationship with their parents anymore, it seems to come to a situation where the parents also choose that.
Yeah. It's
and
they chose it first.
To be the one that has the child and you're like, you don't get a relationship with them anymore because I'm choosing that. That is really damaging to the child.
Yeah.
And like you said, also from experience being a child, when you're told you can't have something and you'll never be able to have that one thing and it doesn't feel right, why that's being withheld from you, you're going to find a time to go get that thing.
Yeah.
And then it's probably going to become really extreme that you get that thing.
Yeah.
And so if you tell them they can't go to church and that Christianity's never going to be in their life, they're probably going to become a radical at some point.
It's psychology, man.
Yeah.
Same. It's like what happened
to
us. You know, it's like you walk away from Christianity and you're like, oh, they lied to us about everything. Now I want everything.
Now I
have to try everything.
And you do. And then you're like, there's a lot of things that are really destructive you shouldn't have tried.
50% was really bad.
Yeah.
The other 50% was fine.
Yeah.